What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Wake and Jake College Football Show. Uh, as you can see, I am not in my usual attire. I am not repping a single thing representing the Minnesota Gophers, as this happens about once a year. They just make me so upset that I need to take a day and not rep them. So, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But just know that is why I'm not wearing any Minnesota gear this episode. But this is going to be the Week 9 recap, and it was actually a pretty good weekend of college football. It was actually a very good weekend of college football. I enjoyed every second of it. Typically, we would get into some news. There's not really any news as of right now. At the time of this recording, there has been no coaches fired, but if there are, that will be inserted at some point. But yeah, gonna recap the games, go over my betting recap, and then finish off with Dude, Are You High? So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it and have a great wake and bake sesh. One last thing before we get into the Week 9 recap. I should probably start putting this at the beginning of the show, but if you like my content, whether it is this uh, long form recap or preview for college football week, whatever it is at that time, or if it's my shorts, uh, regardless, if you enjoy my content, please like, please subscribe, please comment. It helps tremendously. All right, enough of that. The way we will go about it this week, we'll just start with the biggest games of the day, touch on all of those, recap them, whatever, and then just kind of work our way conference through the rest of the games that I didn't touch on. Um, and a common theme with this episode today is going to be, and I try to do this, if I am wrong about something, I am willing to admit I was wrong, put my hand up, say I was wrong if I truly was wrong. And I feel like if I'm going to be putting out these predictions and that sort of thing, that I should be willing to admit when I was wrong. At the same time, if I am right about something, I'm also going to tell you that as well. I feel like that is within my right. If I'm going to admit I was wrong, I should also be able to tell you when I was right. So that's going to be the theme with today's episode. Starting with Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Ole Miss 34, Oklahoma 26, and I told you so. I told you, I told you, I told you. I said it. I told you I was doubting Lane Kiffin last week, but that this week I was going to back him. That when it comes to Oklahoma's defense, they are overrated, is I guess the wrong word choice. But for them to be the number one defense is misleading, because when you look at all the teams that they have faced this year, Michigan has been the best offense, and Michigan's offense isn't great. It is up and down at best. Um, yeah, they've just played a lot of bad offenses, and so it's hard to. Yes, Oklahoma's defense did what they should do against bad offenses, and they dominated. At the same time, they had never really been tested, and Ole Miss coming to town, that was going to be their first test, and they failed. They they didn't succeed. Ole Miss is the first team to go over 300 yards of total offense, and they actually went over 400 just to make it even sweeter. They absolutely dominated, and you could say that they left points on the field. You missed a couple of open shots where Trinidad Chambliss and Austin Simmons, because Lane Kiffin decided to put Austin Simmons and force that down our throats. Um, Missed a couple of open touchdowns, which would have changed this game dramatically. So you could argue that Ole Miss left some points on the field. Um, Now, if you ask Oklahoma fans, they'll tell you that, well, we didn't have an offense to back up the defense. The defense actually did play great. I'm sorry, you cannot allow an offense to go for over 400 yards of offense, have zero turnovers, hold the ball for 35 plus minutes, and only allow one sack against the team that has the most sacks in the country. Trinidad Chambliss over 300 yards passing and another 50 on the ground. I mean, all of you cannot tell me that your defense didn't struggle. You can't tell me your defense was great. Do I think Oklahoma has a good defense? Yes, I do. But to be the number one defense, I'm sorry, they're not. And I'm not disagreeing with Oklahoma fans that the offense is a problem because it is. It's definitely a problem. Um, it wasn't great offensively for Oklahoma yesterday. If I'm going to be completely honest, it really wasn't great. Um, you can't tell me that the defense was phenomenal yesterday because they weren't. And first time they were actually tested, they struggled, and that's just the way it is. Now, Lane Kiffin, we're going to talk on him a little bit later. Spoiler alert. I think I'm going to go back to doubting him again. It was fun for 1 week. He made me question that decision a few times. Again, we'll get into that, but I think I'm going to go back to doubting him. Now they are in a very good spot moving forward. They play South Carolina, Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State to finish off the season. South Carolina's a very winnable game. Citadel, I mean, that's a easy win. I hate to say that. You never like to throw the word easy in there, but that's an easy win. Florida, winnable game. Mississippi State, it's a rivalry game, so I mean, anything could happen. But they're in a great position. Ole Miss is in a great position to make the playoffs this year. Oklahoma, however, is not. Two losses now. They also have to go for their next two games on the road to Tennessee, which Tennessee has a great offense, terrible defense, but great offense, and Alabama, who can be great at offense. Let's just put it that way. They've had their games where they've been great at offense. Um, yeah, two offenses that just they do have the ability to score a lot of points. I think we're really going to see what this Oklahoma's defense is made of moving forward. Honestly, I expect two straight losses. That's just me. Maybe they'll prove me wrong and the offense steps up for Oklahoma, but not in a great spot moving forward. All right, we got Mizzou at Vandy. Mizzou 10, Vandy 17. Honestly, just an ugly game. Just an ugly, ugly game. And it's crazy because going into this game and basically every single Vanderbilt game that I ever preview this year and last, when Vandy controls time of possession, wins the turnover battle, or just doesn't lose the turnover battle, and is successful on third and fourth downs, if they're successful in two of those three or all three, they're going to win the game. If they're successful in only one or none, they'll lose. And I mean, you could say that for most teams, but for Vandy, it is very consistent. They didn't lose the turnover battle, but they did not have success on third down. And they got dominated in time of possession, and they still came away with the win. And it's one of those things, I said it going into the game. Mizzou's a team that also loves to dominate time of possession and has one of the best third down defenses in the country. So something was going to break. Turns out it was Vanderbilt that broke, but they still came away with the win. Uh, I don't like I don't like to use the word ugly and lucky. Not ugly. I don't like to use the word lucky when it comes to saying that teams won the game because they won, and there's a reason they won. But it felt like Vandy was kind of lucky. Uh, it was 3-3 at halftime. By the way, 7 punts in that first half between the two teams. In that second half, though, Vandy had a fantastic goal line stand, which we'll talk about in a second. Bo Prabula did go out of the game. Um, they then missed a 29-yard field goal the following drive. Went on a 75-yard touchdown drive, which was great. Fumbled the ball and then couldn't finish on the final drive when Hail Mary came up inches short of scoring a touchdown. Um, you can argue, yes, skill because they made that fourth down stop on fourth and goal. Yes, I understand that. And yes, they forced a turnover, got that fumble. Sure. Uh, but missing that field goal, kind of fluky. and coming up inches short. My goodness, that was also kind of fluky. He probably shouldn't have even caught it to begin with. Um, Very tough loss for Mizzou, honestly. You're down. It was preseason. It was between Pribula and Horn, I believe. Horn gets hurt first game of the season. I'm pretty sure he was done for the rest of the season right then and there. So then it's Matt Zollers as your backup true freshman quarterback, and now Pribula's probably out the rest of the season. I think they already had reports saying he's out at least the regular season at a minimum, which is not good. For those that didn't see it, it didn't look great. No, I do not think it was a dirty play by Vanderbilt. He grabbed onto the thing. He did not do a gator roll. He did not twist. He did nothing. He just held firm. It's hard to call that dirty because what he is he not supposed to make the tackle? I don't think that that was a dirty play by Vanderbilt. I know people are going to argue both sides. I just saw nothing dirty. But unfortunately, Bo Pribula is out for the year. Um, they came out, put an air cast on his leg, uh, and then proceeded to cart him off the field. And this was bizarre. It was a fourth and goal that he broke his ankle, leg, whatever it is that happened. So they're right at the goal line, putting the air cast on. They bring out the cart. They get him on the cart. They drive him to the back of the end zone where he then hops off the cart and gets into a wheelchair. I'm sorry, you couldn't just wheel the wheelchair out there 10 yards, put him in it, and then just wheel him off. You had to get him on the cart for those 10 yards. What the hell are we doing? Um, but yeah, tough for Mizzou, tough for Pribula. Hate to see it. Curious to see what this freshman quarterback looks like the rest of the year. Vanderbilt 7-1 and in the top 10, and they have Texas, which is a winnable game for them. Auburn, winnable game. Kentucky, extremely winnable game, and then Tennessee to finish off the season. And yeah, you look at that Tennessee game at Neyland Stadium, and you just think Tennessee has a good shot to win out the rest of the season. Vanderbilt has a good shot to win out the rest of the season. The only thing standing in each other's way from winning out the rest of the season is each other. Um, that final game of the season, that final Tennessee and Vanderbilt game could have major playoff implications. I'm rooting for both teams the rest of the way up until that game, and then I'll make my decision then. Um, but yeah, I'm rooting for Tennessee to win out. I'm rooting for Vandy to win out because I want absolute chaos rivalry weekend. BYU 41, Iowa State 27. I told you this was going to be a theme of the game. I called it. I told you the wrong team was favored in this one. Now, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't sweating it out a little bit because Iowa State dominated that first half. Sorry, I'm not lying. That did make me a little nervous. But then BYU and Bear Bachmeier took over the rest of the game. I told you I'm a BYU believer. I'm a Bear Bachmeier believer. He just has been impressive every step of the way. Um, Now, Iowa State, they did have like nearly 500 yards of offense, so it's not like this was a this score is a little misleading because it really was a back and forth game pretty much the whole way through. Like I said, Iowa dominated that first quarter. They were leading 17-7 at the end of it. That's when BYU started to just slowly take back the lead. But again, it was back and forth for a minute there. Um, BYU took a 7 point lead in the fourth quarter. Rocco Becht, the ensuing drive, threw a pick six, and then that was it. That was essentially the game. Nobody scored again after that. Um, yeah, it's not like Iowa State had no like this was a blowout and then they had to come from like the Cincinnati game where it was over and then they made it a game late. No, this was Iowa State even had the lead, lost it, back and forth, and then lost it. They did turn the ball over 3 times though, which did not help. That was a huge reason this game started to turn around was the first interception that he threw. Uh, BYU 8-0. They're a legit team. They're actually good. They do have to go on the road to Texas Tech and Cincinnati before the season is over. I don't think I don't think they come away undefeated in those 2 games. I do think they win one of those. or there is a chance that they win one of those, but they don't win both. Not a chance, in my opinion. But Big 12 title, playoff hopes, very much alive for them. Iowa State could still finish the season 9-3 or 8-4. But those Big 12 hopes are title hopes are basically dead at this point with 3 straight losses. One of the most heartbreaking losses I've seen by any team all season. Um, it was sad to see. It's one of the Mississippi State. Mississippi State loses at home to Texas 45-38 in overtime. Mississippi State has been bad for long enough to the point where you do kind of root for them to win. And to see them lose this game in such heartbreaking fashion was sad to see. It also hurt because they're putting this at risk for me now. When I previewed this game, I was trying not to be dramatic by saying they needed this game, but they needed this game because I am on record for saying that they're going to win more SEC games than they did last year, and that they are going to make a bowl game. With 4 games left, neither one is really guaranteed at this point, and I'm a little nervous. They're pretty close to making me look dumb. But my goodness, what an all-time collapse by Mississippi State. They they took the lead originally in the first with like 2.5 minutes left in the first half, and they held that lead all the way up until a minute 47 left in the game when Ryan Niblett returned a 70-something yard punt for a touchdown. And that's when Texas tied it, ends up going to overtime. Texas obviously wins it. But to make matters worse, Mississippi State had a 17-point lead with 10 minutes left in the game and then lost in overtime. Just an all-time collapse. And for those who may not, Brandon Walker, BFW on Twitter, huge Mississippi State fan, and was at the game, tweeting about it, how he's going to the game, was so excited on the sidelines, and Texas catches the game-winning touchdown right in his face, which just makes this loss even more heartbreaking for certain Mississippi State fans. Just a devastating, devastating loss. People love to hate on Arch Manning. I've somewhat been in that camp saying that he is not great, but he is not the whole problem. He really is not. He is just getting beat up week after week. This game was no different. He did end up leaving the game with can only assume a concussion. Um, Again, he has not been great. I'm not denying that, but it's not all him. He is not the whole problem. Um, in this game, he had like 350 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. He did throw an interception. I understand that, but he he didn't have a bad game for getting. I think he was sacked like 5 times. So for him to still have those stats after getting beat up, proud of him. Good for him. Um, some might argue that, or ask the question, I being one, is Texas, because they were ranked in this one. I think they're 22 in the country. Um, are they the worst team that is going to be ranked this next week? And I feel like I can't say that about them because they're 6-2 now. But are they going to be the worst ranked team going into this next week? It'll be interesting. Now, they finished the season with Vanderbilt, Georgia, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. All of those could be losses, honestly. Yes, I think Arkansas could be a loss. Now, do I think Texas will probably beat Arkansas? I do. But they could lose all 4 of those games and finish the season 6-6. That 6-6 is very much on the table for the Longhorns. Mississippi State, though, like I mentioned, they are very close to making me look dumb. They really needed this one. We'll see. I might be eating those words of them making a bowl game. I still have more hope for an SEC win, but bowl game is looking like a long shot at this point. Uh, Alabama 29, South Carolina 22. It took Bama. It felt like pretty much the whole game to wake up. It just bizarre. South Carolina with a choke. They took a 22-14 lead with 10 minutes left in the game, and by the way, when they took that lead up to that point in the second half, Bama only had like 20 yards of offense total. It was just like four plays, 20 yards, punts or something like that. Then it was like 2 or 3 straight 3-and-outs. Just couldn't get anything going in that second half. South Carolina takes a 22-14 lead. They were already leading 15-14. I understand that, but takes the 22-14 lead, and then Bama just turned it on. Marched right down the field, 79 yards, scored a touchdown, completed the 2 point conversion, just like that. South Carolina gets the ball back, potentially game winning drive, fumble the ball, give Alabama a very short field to which they ended up scoring. You could argue whether or not they should have scored that touchdown because South Carolina was letting them score. Um, just go down at the goal line and then just kneel it out, but whatever. Or kneel it out, or not kneel it out, but kick the game winning field goal, whatever. Um, it ended up working out for them. I don't know what happened. I don't know if Bama's just looking ahead to the bye week because they do have a bye before. I don't even know who they take on next. I think it's LSU, which we'll get into them in a minute, or I guess in a little bit because that game was terrible. Um, yeah, I don't know if they were looking ahead to the bye week or what was going on because Bama just came out, I guess, sloppy, just not great. Like I said, it took them until South Carolina got an 8 point lead that they were like, oh shit, we got to get going. Um, Bama really needs to figure out their run game. Plain and simple. I mean, we're 8 games into the season; they haven't figured it out yet. All signs are pointing to they're not going to figure it out, and it is going to cost them a game at some point this season. Maybe not in the regular season, but if they make the SEC championship game, they make the playoffs, which both are trending towards that. If they make the playoffs, at some point it is going to bite them in the ass that they can't get this run game going. Believe it or not, Jeremy Bernard is their most effective running back the last 2 weeks, which is he's a wide receiver, guys. Yes, he's only run the ball like 7 times. Don't come at me. I am aware it hasn't been a lot, but he's still been the most effective. Um, yeah, bizarre that the wide receiver's the most effective running back. Uh, Bama does finish on the road with Auburn. They do play Eastern Illinois. They do have to play Oklahoma at some point, and like I said, I think their next game's LSU. LSU's a winnable game. Oklahoma's a winnable game. Eastern Illinois is basically without a doubt win. Auburn could be tricky, but Alabama is in a good spot to win out the rest of the year and not have their run game cost them the game. But man, I it needs to get fixed or they're going to drop a game. All right, those were some might argue not the biggest games of the day, but to me those were the biggest games of the day. So I'll just kind of go conference by conference now and go through just some scores and maybe touch on a few terrible games. Starting with the Big Ten, and I'm just going to get it out of the way. Minnesota 3, Iowa 41. What an absolute embarrassment. Just showed absolutely no fight. Um, this game could not have started any worse. It was 31 nothing at halftime. There was a kick or punt return touchdown, an interception, a pick six, zero offense from Minnesota, enough offense from Iowa. Just an absolute embarrassment. It was such a. I'll be honest, I stopped watching at halftime because Minnesota wasn't even trying. They just laid down and gave up. Didn't even put up a fight. 133 yards of total offense at 2.5 yards per play and 3 turnovers. What are we doing? I'm not. What are we doing? I don't even. I'm trying to like find a positive thing to take away from this game, and there isn't any. I mean, can I even compliment Minnesota's defense for shutting down Iowa the last 3 quarters because this game was over by the first quarter? Not really, because the game was over after the first quarter. It's not like Iowa's offense had to do anything the whole game. They just had to not let Minnesota do anything offensively, which was not difficult. Um, Minnesota still has the opportunity to finish the season 8-4, but man, one of the worst performances I have ever witnessed. There's a reason why I'm not repping any Minnesota gear today. Is because it just was that upsetting, and I didn't expect Minnesota to necessarily win the game. I expected them to put up more, to actually put up a fight. 8-4 still on the table, but I am not confident anymore, unfortunately. Um, Indiana 56, UCLA 6. I want to say that the magic has worn off of UCLA, but that might be unfair to UCLA because they were on the road at Indiana, and Indiana's just a very good team. Um, so I won't say the magic has worn off yet. I feel like that's a little unfair to them. But man, it was not pretty. 2 of 14 on third and fourth down, 201 yards of total offense, and 3 turnovers. Just absolute domination from start to finish from Indiana. Um, I'm not going to talk too much shit about this next team because my team is in no place to have my team is just as bad, arguably, and that's not true. I do think Minnesota is better than Wisconsin, who lost to Oregon 21-7. I mean, shout out to Wisconsin for scoring your first points in nearly 3 full games. Um, I'm not going to talk too much shit because I'm a Minnesota fan. We scored 3 against Iowa, even though you scored 0. Uh, this was not a dominant win by Oregon score wise. And here's the thing: I'm not even shocked to see the score be this close. One, the weather was terrible from everything I saw. Um, it was definitely on a side screen, but from when I was checking in, it was pretty ugly. But if you remember last year, Oregon went undefeated, but the one game that they really struggled in was against Wisconsin. Something about the this matchup just I'm not shocked by the result. Let's just put it that way. Uh, but even though it was not a dominant win by Oregon, you just never really felt like Oregon was going to lose because you just knew Wisconsin wasn't going to win. I guess is what it comes down to. The offense is just so terrible. Um, and thank God for Wisconsin's offense because if they weren't so bad, the Gophers, in my opinion, would have potentially the worst offense in the Big Ten. Uh, but with this loss, and at the time of this recording, nothing has happened. I am still predicting that Luke Fickell is gone, and I think he's gone this week. Rutgers 27, Purdue 24. Oh, Purdue. Just I needed Rutgers to win for the Power 4 moneyline parlay, but Purdue, my goodness, you had your first chance to get your first Big Ten win in 2 years, and you fumbled it away, literally. Rutgers tied the game at 24 with a minute 6 left. Purdue had a chance to go 77 yards to potentially win the game. Otherwise, it goes to overtime. And the first play of that drive, Ryan Brown goes to throw a pass, quick pass, and it gets tipped up in the air. He catches his own pass, tries to run forward with it, and fumbles the ball, giving Rutgers a very short field to which they just kicked the game-winning field goal. Tough loss for Purdue, comical loss, but I'm I'm not quite to the point of feeling bad for Purdue like I do Mississippi State. But we're getting close, and that was that was rough to watch. Illinois 25, Washington 42. I mean, this game was 21-17 at halftime. You thought, oh, Illinois has a shot, and then Illinois could not do much in the second half. Damon Williams had a great game. Washington might be a good team. Let's just put it that way. Michigan 31, Michigan State 20. I mean, Michigan State, I guess, kind of made this a game late. Um, but Michigan was in control basically the whole time. Haynes and Marshall combined for 41 carries, 262 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6.4 yards a pop. You were never, even though it was close, you never thought Michigan was going to lose. Um, I did not watch this game at all. I'm just throwing out the score. Northwestern 21, Nebraska 28. All I know is Northwestern was down like 21-6 or something like that. Came back, tied it. Nebraska won it late. Good for them. Moving on to SEC games. Tennessee 56, Kentucky 34. This Tennessee defense, I thought they were going to be so good this year. I shouldn't say so good. I thought they were going to be good this year. and they have just been so bad. Allowing Kentucky to score 34 points is honestly concerning. Now, clearly it didn't matter because Kentucky's defense couldn't stop Tennessee at all. Um, Joey Aguilar, 20 of 26, 396, and 3 touchdowns. Chris Brazzell, 4 receptions, 138 yards, a touchdown. Mike Matthews, 6 receptions, 107 yards, and a touchdown. And Braylon Staley, 6 receptions, 105 yards. My goodness. Just Tennessee, who is typically a run first team and is very good at running the ball, didn't have the greatest success on the ground. And they didn't need to because they got whatever they wanted through the air. It was insane to watch. 34 points is concerning, but again, they were still able to score 56. If I'm going to say one nice thing about Kentucky, outside of congrats on being able to score 34 points, Cutter Boley didn't look bad. 330 yards and 5 touchdowns. I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row where he has not looked bad. Kentucky, dare I say, might have a quarterback this year. Well, for the future, assuming he doesn't transfer away. Auburn 33, Arkansas 24. Hugh Freeze survives another week, I guess. I'm assuming. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he still gets fired. We saw Billy Napier get fired after a win. So I guess anything goes. Now, there were rumors that Jackson Arnold might get benched if he didn't play well. And sure enough, Arnold was benched in this game in favor of Ashton Daniels, who took over. And this was kind of a weird game because Arkansas didn't. Arkansas struggled, which I didn't think they would struggle so much offensively. 4 turnovers is not that crazy because we've already seen them have a couple like 3 turnover games. But Arkansas is one of the best teams on third down offensively. 3 of 9 on third and fourth downs in this one, which that is not something we see from this Arkansas team. I mean, they are usually really good. I think they struggled against Texas A&M, went 4 of 10, but again, Texas A&M has a great third down defense, so whatever. But shout out to Auburn's defense. One of only 2 teams to hold Arkansas under 30 points. Um, Auburn was down 21-10 at halftime, and field goal kicking, it feels like, has been an issue for Auburn this year. They kicked 5 field goals in the second half and had a pick six to close out this game. It was a weird game. It really was. Again, Hugh Freeze, I think, survives another week because you don't often see coaches fired after a win. But again, we saw it happen to Billy Napier, so we'll see about Hugh Freeze. Syracuse 16, Georgia Tech 41. Called it. I told you Georgia Tech was going to score a lot of points. Syracuse offense has struggled since Angeli went down, and Syracuse was not going to be able to keep up, and that's exactly what happened. Syracuse was not able to keep up. Haynes King with nearly 400 yards of offense and 5 total touchdowns. Georgia Tech is undefeated, and they have a good shot to go into the Georgia game undefeated because they have NC State on the road, Boston College on the road, home versus Pitt before that Georgia game. We may be looking at an undefeated Georgia Tech hosting Georgia final week of the season because those next 3 games are very winnable. Uh, Stanford 7, Miami 42. Uh, Stanford got out to a 7-0 lead, and they held that lead, and that was the first drive of the game. Stanford goes down, scores a touchdown. And they held that lead until nearly halftime. And then Miami never looked back in the second half. After that opening drive, where Stanford went 74 yards on the opening drive, they proceeded to get 70 yards the rest of the game. The opening scripted drive was all they had. They had nothing after that. Absolute dominating win by Miami. Virginia 17, UNC 16. This game went to overtime. This is 2 straight weeks of Virginia getting lucky, honestly. I don't like to use that word, but a little lucky. Uh, there was absolutely this game was 10-10 at halftime, and then there was absolutely no scoring in the second half until overtime. Um, Virginia had the ball first, scored a touchdown. UNC got the ball second, scored a touchdown, and decided, you know what, let's go for the win. And failed the 2-point conversion. They were inches short. Again, brutal loss for UNC. I don't want to say lucky win for Virginia, but kind of a lucky win. Um, Virginia 7-1, which is great for them. Uh, Great for Tony Elliott. Not great for people who maybe wanted him fired. Um, Feels like they may drop a game or two moving forward, just based on what we've seen the last couple weeks. They go on the road to Cal, home versus Wake Forest, on the road to Duke, home versus Virginia Tech. They may drop a game or two coming up, and that's not saying that Virginia's a bad team. This is a great season for them. They're 7-1. That is not something we've seen from them in recent years. They might drop a couple games. Boston College 24, Louisville 38. I don't really have anything to say about the team other than Boston College is an absolute trash team. Isaac Brown and Keywan Brown combined for 24 carries, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Just no defense to be had for Boston College. Absolutely brutal. SMU 12, Wake Forest 13. I mean, I put SMU on upset alert this weekend. I didn't. I don't think I officially claimed Wake Forest would win this game, but I said there is a chance that they get SMU this weekend. And sure enough, they did. They kicked a game-winning field goal with 50-yard field goal, by the way, with as time expired. Um, but honestly, just an ugly game for both teams is really what it comes down to. SMU had less than 250 yards of offense. They were 4 of 18 on third and fourth down, 3 turnovers and just 3.5 yards of play. Wake Forest, 301 yards of offense, 7 of 20 on third and fourth down, 5 turnovers. Um, this game didn't show it, but Wake Forest is a good team. Um, are they going to win out? Not necessarily, but Wake Forest is a good team. Again, this game does not show it. NC State 34, Pitt 53. Mason Heinchel is the real deal. 28 of 48, over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, you could argue this game was close at halftime. Pitt only led 31-21, but at that point, I mean, NC State had showed little signs of showing or slowing down Pitt's offense, and that continued because Pitt had a fantastic third quarter and completely put this game away. Big 12 games: Texas Tech 42, Oklahoma 0. No one's surprised by this score. Um, Oklahoma State had less than 200 yards of offense, was 5 of 19 on third and fourth down, less than 3 yards of play. I mean, this game was over in the first quarter. Let's be honest. Just a brutal, brutal matchup. We expected it to be brutal. Everything about that game is what we expected. Uh, Cincinnati 41, Baylor 20. I was wrong about this one. I didn't think that Cincinnati's defense was good enough to completely shut down Baylor's offense, and I was wrong. Sawyer Robinson had his worst statistical game of the year, maybe just yardage wise, but um, not a great game for Baylor's offense. Cincinnati, I mean, we knew they were going to be able to move the ball pretty well against this Baylor defense because it's been terrible. Uh, had no issues running the ball the whole game. Just this Baylor defense is so bad. I mean, is this it for Dave Aranda? Is he done? I'm not going to go as far as to say he gets fired this week, but feels like he's done. I don't know. I don't know why they would hang on to him for another week. We'll see. Houston 24, Arizona State 16. This score shows makes the game seem way closer than it actually was. Because Houston was leading 24-0 going into that fourth quarter. Um, this game did not go how Arizona State wanted it to go. Jordan Tyson was out, so you knew they were going to probably run the ball quite a bit. Unfortunately, when you are down in a game, you can't really run the ball that much. And so instead of being a run first game, they had to throw the ball a lot. And without Tyson, the passing attack struggled. Um, Now, Malik McLean, 7 receptions, 159 yards. That's great. Sam Levitt did throw for 270 yards. That's great. He was also 18 of 35. Um, Jeff Sims also had to come into the game a few different times, which is never something you want if you are an Arizona State fan. Great win for Houston. They are 7-1. It's time for the AP voters to quit being cowards and rank Houston. Connor Wegman in this one, 17 to 22, 201 yards and a touchdown, added another 111 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Tanner Kojal, 7 receptions, 100 yards and a touchdown. Houston has a real shot to finish the season with just one loss. When you look at the rest of their schedule, home versus West Virginia, at UCF, home versus TCU, at Baylor. Those are all winnable games. Houston may finish the season with just one, maybe 2 losses. Ooh, Colorado 53, or sorry, Utah 53, Colorado 7. I kind of called it in this one. I said that when Utah plays a poverty team, they look like one of the best teams in the country. And I also said that Colorado's a poverty team. Where I was wrong is I said that Devin Dampier was going to go off. Devin Dampier was probable going into this game and was fully dressed. I think, honestly, honest opinion, I think Utah was just like, if this game goes a little sideways, you're going in. But if this game goes how we think it should go, you won't even need to play and we'll come away with the win. I don't know. I just that's how I feel like it went. Um, Bird Ficklin got the start, 20 carries, 151 yards and a touchdown. This game was over in the first quarter, and if after the first quarter you still had faith in Colorado, it was 43 to nothing at halftime. And at halftime, Utah had nearly 400 yards of offense, and Colorado had negative 18. When Utah plays a poverty team, they look like one of the best teams in the country. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. TCU 23, West Virginia 17. I did not watch this game. I've seen nothing from this game. The only thing I will say is that this score is a lot closer than I would have thought coming from TCU West Virginia. I thought TCU's offense would have a little more success against a bad West Virginia defense. Kansas State 42, Kansas 17. I called it. I told you Kansas was on upset alert. I told you Kansas State would win this game. I told you that it feels like Kansas State has turned it around a little bit and that Kansas is just an average team who has not played well lately. Um, Kansas offense, 4 turnovers. Well, part of that was special teams because they did fumble the punter fumbled the snap. But total turnovers, struggled on third and fourth down, and had under 250 yards of offense. Kansas State is now 3-1 in their last 4 after starting 1-3, and Kansas is the exact opposite. They are 1-3 in their last 4 after starting 3-1. Um, Kansas State doesn't. Kansas, you could argue, doesn't either. But Kansas State has nothing to really play for the rest of the season except maybe a bowl game. Pride, I guess. But I think the most important thing that they're playing for is playing spoiler, wrecking everybody else's dreams. Um, they finished the season home versus Texas Tech, at Oklahoma State, at Utah, home versus Colorado. They'll probably win Colorado. They're gonna beat Oklahoma State. Can they play spoiler to Texas Tech or Utah, who, as of right now, both have their sights set on a Big 12 title? Utah's are a little less, but they both still have their sights set on that. Can Kansas State play spoiler? At worst, they split those remaining 4 and go 6-6 and make a bowl game. If they can play spoiler, that that would be fun, and that's something that if I were on that team, that's something that I would strive for. Final game we will touch on: Texas A&M 49, LSU 25. My future on Texas A&M to make the playoffs is just looking sweeter and sweeter by the week. This is a game that was close at halftime. LSU scored 18 points in that first half and then could not do anything in the second half until garbage time. Uh, Texas A&M with an absolutely dominating win, especially in that second half. Over 400 yards of offense. Casey Concepcion with the crazy punt return touchdown. LSU's offense, 278 yards of offense. They were 2 of 12 on third down. They allowed 7 sacks. Texas A&M even turned the ball over twice. Blocked punt for a safety, interception in the end zone. And LSU still couldn't come away with the win. Just domination from, I don't want to say from start to finish, but a very good win for Texas A&M. They are a legitimate team. Watch out for them to make a run in the playoffs. Is Brian Kelly done at this point? Because there was chants breaking out in the game. Fire Kelly. There was people holding signs that he needs to go. His buyout, it is so big that it feels like that might save him. I don't know. I just feel like it's over. It's done. If he doesn't get fired this year, I am going to be a little shocked. Um, but as of right now, there has been no word that he is officially fired.
It happened again. Another coach has been fired. This is the third straight week that I've had to throw in a little blurb because it happened after I was done recording. This one did happen a little later than the rest, but Brian Kelly officially done at LSU. And I can't say that I'm shocked. He was not at the top of my list for coaches that were going to get fired this weekend. That was Luke Fickell and Hugh Freeze. But again, I'm not shocked. I thought maybe his buyout would be too high. Turns out it's not too high at all. They expect national titles. They expect college football playoffs. Brian Kelly was delivering none of that. And honestly, we've already seen Josh Pate lay into him. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of things that start coming out over the next couple weeks and months of things that were going on while Brian Kelly was the coach at LSU, and I'm here for all of it. And honestly, I probably won't be shocked by any of it. But yeah, absolutely crazy. I guess I guess I would put LSU as the number one job available currently. Previously, I did have Florida as 1A, Penn State as 1B, but I think LSU is a better job than both of them. So LSU takes the top spot as the best job available. Brian Kelly's out. This coaching carousel just keeps getting better and better. I'll talk on it more later this week.
All right, let's get into my betting recap. I am officially off of probation. I was 3-2 this weekend, and it never felt better. Purdue and Rutgers over sucked. It felt like that game was going to go to overtime, and I was like, perfect, that's a win. And then Purdue just with the comical turnover. Minnesota to cover was one of the worst bets I've ever given out in my life. Um, but Michigan over 30.5 pushed it, but we got there. Um, was worried there for a minute that that wasn't going to hit. Um, Pitt minus 6.5, never in doubt. BYU money line, that hits. So that was a great weekend of betting. And to top it all off, the powerful money line parlay hit for the second straight week. Um, I don't have the official overall record for parlays and for my picks or the unit plus minus unit, so I will give that out on Thursday. I will update that this week, I promise. But a very good weekend. I'm officially off probation. Let's go. We are turning it around. And then my favorite segment. Dude, are you high? And this week I'm giving that to Lane Kiffin. Yes, you went on the road to Oklahoma, and yes, you came away with the win. What was that? Uh, just some questionable decisions by Lane Kiffin in this one. Ones where you think, is he trying to take his name out of the running for a head coach at Florida, or what is going on? Um, the, Ole Miss is driving the ball. It's, I think, second and goal, I believe is what it was, and they pull out Trinidad Chambliss and throw in Austin Simmons. Why? Why are you doing that? Trinidad Chambliss was fine. He wasn't injured, didn't lose his helmet, nothing like that. They just swapped them out. Austin Simmons goes 0-2. They have to kick a field goal. Missed a wide open guy on one of those throws. What are you doing? Okay, fine. Whatever. And then first drive of the second half, it's fourth and 1 or 2 at your own like 30-yard line, and you decide, all right, taking Trinidad out again. We're throwing Austin Simmons in for this third down play. It's an absolute disaster. You end up losing yardage and coming nowhere close to converting the fourth down, giving Oklahoma phenomenal field position, which they couldn't capitalize on, so they got 3 points out of it. Fine. Lane Kiffin. what are you doing? Quit trying to force Austin Simmons down our throats. Quit taking unnecessary risks like that. Especially, it was too early in the game to be going forward in your own territory, especially that deep. You had the lead. What are you doing, Lane Kiffin? You came away with the win, so it didn't matter in the end. But Lane Kiffin, dude, are you high? Phenomenal weekend of college football. Any weekend's a good weekend of college football. Um, but I did enjoy this weekend. But yeah, thank y'all for watching. I enjoy the sport. Like and subscribe, comments, and I will be back later this week to preview week 10.